welcome to the Pigskin Cafe, a podcast where Hampton, Chase, and Graham break down all things college football. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
They had to win this game.
There's a problem. This one's tough.
We are back.
That's what my guts tell me.
I genuinely could not believe it.
You don't live in the great state of Texas.
All right, big boy. Hold my sweet tea.
What are we doing?
That is a stat there, ladies and gentlemen.
Fellas, you guys know that we went to Troy University, where when you go there, there's this, you just know that you're signing up. You could have gone to Auburn, could have gone to Alabama. If you wanted to win a national championship, you should have gone there. You should have gone to Troy. And lo and behold, I will say that on this podcast, I am the only national champion. Hence the national championship banner right here, the pennant.
Mm-hmm.
Fellas, if I had to say, hey, why did yesterday happen? I told Scooter, I said, hey, Scooter, I'm blaming some of this on you. If you were at the game when we played Georgia, and I'm being somewhat playful, but I'm being dead honest at the same time, that again, you go to Troy and you don't expect to win a national championship.
Mm-hmm.
What I have a massive problem with, and that I brought up last week, is, fellas, I'll ask you this. When Vanderbilt takes down the number one team in the nation, what did they do after that game? Just fill me in for the listeners if they didn't see all what happened last night. Graham, you're from Nashville, might know the area. What did they do?
Yeah, so obviously Vanderbilt did a lot better job of storming the field this time than they have in the past, just to give them credit. And then they obviously took down the goalposts. And if you know anything about Nashville, they say that Vanderbilt is on the west end, but it's closer to central Nashville. And so at the heart of Nashville is the river. And so what they do, they take it down, they walk it 3 miles, and obviously it goes through Broadway and then into the waters below. And I think that for a team like Vanderbilt, they might win one more game this season, but they're going to play everybody close. The way that their scheme is, and they might steal one or two, but I don't expect them to. I expect them to beat, Ball State, I think, is the only one that I expect them to beat on their schedule. But they're 3-0 at home and 2-0 on the road. And one of the road losses was at Missouri, and it was, tight, so tight. So this is an improved Vanderbilt team. It's not like this is the Vanderbilt of old telling Bama they better show up. But I think the biggest disappointment for me.
Grant, let me finish my thought if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
you're good. I wanted you to fill us in on like the Nashville and what they did last night of throwing it into the river.
Yeah, it's just a straight road. You go, you walk one way. You probably got to stop at a few lights. Got to kick over some of those rentable scooters, but besides that, it's not much hilly terrain or anything like that. Pretty smooth walk.
Yeah. And fellas, this is what I think. Hey, why did yesterday happen? I think about, again, we played the number one team in the nation. We played Georgia at home, and then what did we do? We just clapped and said, "All right, let's move on to the next week." And I was asking you guys, hey, why doesn't Alabama? This is the game. If you're ever going to rush the field and actually celebrate and say, hey, dude, we just beat the number one team in the nation, that was the game to do it. And for some reason, like, we've got our nose so far in the air that we expect, that's the word I kept hearing, we expect to win games like that. Yeah. And don't stop there whenever we go to Vanderbilt and we expect to win games like that. We just think because we're Alabama, we expect to win those games, which is not inherently a bad thing, but that's what happens when you walk in flat thinking that you've got 10 points on the board just because you're Alabama and you expect to win. And that's why I have a problem with when we beat Georgia, everyone acts like, oh yeah, this is just what we do. And I'm glad that it is, but it's no longer. That was I guarantee if you were to flip these, and if you would have lost to Vanderbilt last week, and then you were to beat Georgia this week, they would have rushed the field. And this is the wake-up call. And I am actually happy for Kalen DeBoer in some realm that I do think that he needed this. Hey, how do you keep this up? And he's got, obviously, has let the players on a longer leash. They get to do podcasts. They get to do, they're building their brands, all this. Hey, and if that's how you want to coach, that's fine. But you obviously did not do, everyone in the room did not focus on this game. And I wonder if it is just because we had this culture of expectations that we just expected to win. So that's why I'm blaming Scooter on this, is because he had the opportunity to lead the charge, to say we just beat the number one team in the nation in our house. And we just expected it. So I would say that if I said, hey, why did yesterday happen? You could go on X's and O's. You could talk about, there was turnovers. There was one play I know where they called a holding in the red zone for them. But if you would have seen how many Alabama defenders whiffed completely trying to make that tackle, that's when I was like, we're losing this game. We can't even hit. We can't tackle. So all that to say, fellas, I'm gonna take the angle, and not that you can fully put it on culture, but this culture of expectation just came to an abrupt halt because we just lost to Vanderbilt. There is no more expectation of just because we're Alabama, we win. And the next time we play somebody of some kind of stature, we'll rush the field. We'll do something that shows we don't just have this expectation that we're going to win. So, Hampton, I can tell that you don't agree with me.
I don't.
I think you're part of the problem.
Yeah, it's me. I'm the reason they lost. No, it's not. I understand what you're saying, and I agree with aspects of it. But I don't think now that Alabama lost to Vanderbilt, the next time we have a big win, or next time Alabama has a big win, that fans are going to rush the field. Because Alabama throughout its history, whether it be Saban, whether it be Shula, DeBose, Stallings, Curry, Perkins, Bryant, Frank Thomas, William Wade, Alabama never storms the field. And just because you have an expectation to win doesn't mean that you have to have a lack of preparation, which is what I think happened this week. Because you cannot tell me that Alabama in practice, in the film room, in meetings, was preparing with the same level of professionalism and attention to detail that they did against Georgia. You just can't tell me that they did have that same level of being locked in. They just did not. And yeah, I think Alabama fans have to recalibrate of this is not Nick Saban's Alabama anymore, which, and I again, that may be an overreaction on my part, but I think it's fair because this didn't happen under Nick Saban. This did not. But I don't think that Alabama fans be expecting to win every game. I think it's a good thing to have, like Vandy expected to win that game yesterday. They 100% expected to win it, but they went out and they prepared with the same level of detail and preparation that they needed to pull that off, to make that come to fruition. But they expected to win. Alabama needs to expect to win every game, but you got to do the little things right that get you there. And I don't think they did that. And I think with some of the things that you saw with play, again, you talked about how the culture is a little more loose now, maybe, with players doing interviews, players doing podcasts, players talking to the other team. I'm fine with some of that. But a little of it needs to be corralled back in, especially the talking to the other team aspect. Like, my gosh, play ball. Do not feed into just jawing, especially when you're not playing well. I get if you're beating the tar out of somebody, I maybe can understand a little bit more. But when you're losing and playing as badly as you did yesterday, and you're standing over them and doing all this stuff, stop it. Graham, what do you make of all that? And then Chase, I want to hear your response to that.
Yeah, I'll say, I think that we're talking about two sides of the same coin. Yeah, there's expectation.
So are you saying both can be true?
That's just to bring Scooter back into this. Both things can be true. No, man, I agree with you. Yes, there's expectation and there's preparation, and you got to have both. Yeah, there's some confidence, but then there's also some, you can almost kind of miss the moment because you feel like your expectation that you don't, like, you're expecting to win, therefore you don't feel like you have to prep. I'm just saying I would personally, I feel like not rushing the field, and I'm not like that's the moment. If we would have done that, we would have won this week. I think that there's this expectation that we're going to win every game that I think has been bred from what it looks like to come out of a dynasty where you win almost every single game. Now, if you see other teams like Vanderbilt, you look at all these other teams that win. I mean, you watch Arkansas yesterday. They beat Tennessee. Did they go in there expecting to win? I mean,
I think so.
A healthy confidence, but not I would say an expectation that if they do everything, they're like, hey, this is a great team. What I would like to see is it's easy to point the finger at that and say, hey, it's a culture of expectation that feels like therefore we don't have to prep as much. A negative side of expectation that I would like to see just altered. And my prescription would be rush the field, act like this is the best thing we've done. Because again, think about for a Alabama football player, you go to the University of Alabama for 4 years out of your life. How many games do you host at home that are of that caliber that then you win? There might only be 1 or 2 matchups in your 4 years that you're there that you hosted at home. There were top 5 matchups that you even have the moment, and we don't step into it. And
I think Finn even disagrees with you.
Who's that?
Finn
disagrees.
I'm joking. The dog comes picking at you.
So if you were part of that 100,000 people that were there and didn't storm the field,
it's your fault.
The 15,000 that were at Vanderbilt when they were the minority in their stadium, they got it right. Graham, what do you make of all this? Give me your answer to the question: why did this happen?
Yeah, I've got a very opinionated dog, especially on this topic. Yeah, I think that I agree with both of you in the fact that Alabama is one of those programs where we should beat everybody, and so there should not be a extra level of, I guess they say, celebration for doing what you're supposed to do. Because I think that's kind of the expectation has become winning is what you're supposed to do. Not that it's just what Alabama's it's the expectation is to win. But I will say it would be nice if when are we going to host the number 1 team in the country again?
And
we're the underdog.
Yeah.
And we take care of business and kind of hand it to them.
Graham, right now, Hampton's saying he expects to win that game.
Yeah. But I do think that the expectation has so much been like winning that it's like there's no looking back and saying, you know what, that was a lot of fun. Let's actually celebrate that. Like Vanderbilt, they're gonna. I mean, Clark Lee's gonna get an extension. They're gonna buy him a new car. He's gonna get $5 million in extra NIL money to give to players over one game. And okay, Ryan Williams, his NIL significantly increased after Georgia. But where's the additional funding? Where's the extra excitement?
Well, so y'all really think that Alabama fans didn't celebrate the win last week like big time? Because on Wednesday, I saw people still talking about the game and glowing reviews about how incredible it was and what a performance it was.
We're talking about this genuine, I think, celebration of every win really matters.
Yeah.
Every win is worth celebrating. There's a 24-hour, there was, yes, everyone was excited. They were happy.
Mm-hmm.
But there was this negative side of expecting to win that I think we don't fully celebrate the big moments. So then we go flat and cold as all get out into Nashville because we just think that we expect to win. I think that we would say the expectation is a 10-point swing rather than the expectation is, again, we've got to prep and we've got to come in and ready to play. I just think that we don't celebrate. If you were to put any other team in this equation and they took down the number 1 team in the nation at home as an underdog, they would have celebrated differently than Alabama did.
So you think, I just want to make sure I'm on track.
I know it's hard for you to get in this mindset with so much expectation bogging you down.
You think that it was the fans' lack of celebration was why Alabama lost.
Look, I mean, what is this? Is this CNN? What are we talking about right now?
I'm trying to follow this minutia that we're in right now. I'm
talking
trying to follow it.
The culture of expectations, and I would say that the fans even get to play a role in this. Of hey, what does it look like to celebrate? Is if remove the names, as if you were to win against the number one team in the nation at home.
So what you're saying is that the players, because they had the script A on their chest, they expected to win this game against Vanderbilt.
And
is
I would say
I agree with that. That's the point I made. That
expected not even 10-point swing. I think in this game in particular, I think that they were thinking it was going to be 14-10 at halftime, and that they were going to win 35 to 17. Like that's what I think the expectation was coming into this, because Alabama wins big games and they beat Vanderbilt. That's the expectation, and I think that feels like the shoe fits to me. That because you're Alabama, you can win big games, and that's the expectation, and that you beat Vanderbilt simply because you're Alabama.
And I agree with that from the player's perspective, 100%. I think I agree with that, and I think that's an issue because to me, a lot of the guys that didn't play up to the standard that had been set are guys that have been there for 3 or 4 years. Not the new guys. Like the new guy, I didn't feel like the new guys had that problem as much as some of the guys that are your leaders and guys you depend on. So I agree with you from that perspective. I'll give you that.
But let me I think build the bridge real quick, and Graham, I want to let you finish your thought. I do marvel at Texas A&M. I mean, I think that their fans helped them win football games. Like, and I know that sounds cliche. Tell me how many false starts happen in College Station. And when they take down number one teams in their house, the expectation is that you're gonna storm the field. I think that that's just what I'd like to reclaim. Is I think that there has become this, if you wanted to say expectation to the, we don't have to work hard to earn it, is the downside to that. So Graham, maybe if you're hearing something, me and Hampton, I think are on the same page now, but maybe help kind of bridge this gap or put a bow on this. Finish your thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all in agreement that because Alabama wearing the script A, that didn't necessarily like cause us to win or lose, but it did cause us to think that we didn't have to work as hard. Think that okay, it didn't matter how the game started because we'd figure it out. We'd make enough plays at the end to pull it out. And I mean, Alabama, for as long as we've been alive, has, I guess, well, at least since Nick Saban came in, outside of that the ULM game, every year there's been ugly wins, and you just kind of found it, like, it didn't look good, it wasn't pretty, but you just found a way to win. And I feel like usually it was not necessarily Vanderbilt, but it was a team of this caliber, one that you didn't expect coming off of a big game, and you're not really ready to go. But I will say that I think that for Alabama, the realm of college football has changed, and the way that fans express themselves, the way that social media has connected fans with players, with teams, it has changed from being a country club society to a everybody's welcome society. And I feel like Alabama not choosing to rush the field ever, and I'm not saying that just rushing the field is the only example, is that we're just on our high horse a little bit better than everybody else. The values that we have we're just going to keep it the same way because that's the way it's always been. And instead of looking to say, hey, you know what? Why not? I mean, we've got the money to pay. We've got the money to buy new uprights. We've got the money to pay the fine for the SEC. But I mean, how many times is Ole Miss going to storm the field? How many times is Texas A&M going to storm the field? How many times is Tennessee going to storm the field before we even get people to outside the players that go to the Nick Saban football camp are the only ones that are allowed to ever step on the field? That's it.
How many championships have those programs won, though?
How many times have they done it against Alabama? You know, Graham. Like I'm trying to even
Not
think of a
much.
scenario with those teams where they stormed the field, and it's not because they've beaten Alabama.
Yeah, I think that it comes down to this: is that we've lost somewhat the excitement of winning. We've gotten so used to it that the emotion of winning has not necessarily been able to express itself. Let's go back to 2009. Alabama beats Texas in the national championship. The first one in a long time. I mean, I don't know about you, but I struggled to go to sleep that night because I had a smile on my face. Like it didn't matter. Like it didn't matter. I just couldn't. I'd sit there, stared at the ceiling with a smile on my face, and had trouble going to sleep. Okay, well, Alabama beats Georgia last week. Alabama's won other national championships. And did I lose any sleep? No, I mean, not at all.
What are you problem?
But I'm asking you, Hampton. When was
Hampton's
the last time?
he's saying, Graham, he's saying that losing doesn't affect him like now, like it used to. If anything, this guy's backed off his morals.
Like, no,
it's clear that somebody here has changed. And Graham, if me and you, because maybe it's because we're married, we're just more in tune with our emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
emotional
right.
about this. Keep
Graham,
going, Graham.
what's the question you were going to ask me?
When was the last time that you couldn't go to sleep because you were so excited about Alabama football?
Last week. Last week I was up to 1:30 in the morning because I rewatched the game. What are you talking about?
No.
See, that's the problem. If he would rush the field, he would have been able to fully experience. He has to that's what Bama fans have to do. They have to rewatch wins in order to just get this second-hand high, rather than just going out.
What is at home? What do you want me to do? Run out to the yard around? Is that my rushing the field?
Wildcat Stadium.
This is rich, man.
Here's what I'll say, and this might not mean anything to either one of y'all. When Baylor won the national championship, I was sitting in the stands of the football stadium. We're all watching it together. That's just an experience you can't recreate, of all watching you win a big game, a big moment, and I literally watching basketball in the football stadium, sitting in the stands. There was a bunch of students already on the field. I jumped over and got to storm the field. And that it's just, man, I think that's all I keep hearing is, man, this is why college football is so good. In the NFL, you can't storm the field. It's not an option. But here as in college football at Alabama, we're basically saying, hey, in the NFL, you can't storm. And in Alabama, you can't storm the field, which to me just feels like, man, we've really lost what it feels like to just celebrate the big moments, to not just have this expectation that then, feels like you just add points onto the scoreboard. But Hampton, again, if you're not in tune with your emotions, man, I can understand how this might be hard. When you're an X's and O's I get this is a hard pill to swallow.
I don't have anything else to add to this other than just complete bewilderment.
I know I'm like joking, I'm being funny, but
no, you're being serious.
I'm being serious.
I know you are,
because this is what I think is going to happen, and I'm saying this, and laugh at me as you will, comment me, if you got anything bad to say, again, my name is Hampton, and you can just go ahead and type in the comments. But I do think there'll be a shift going forward, and not a major shift. I think that, again, we went from winning the questionably one of the biggest moments, again, that Bryant-Denny Stadium's ever hosted, possibly. Huge moment. You take down number one as an underdog. Instant classic was the words I kept hearing beside it. To literally, I've heard several people say this is the worst loss in Alabama football history. And I do think that changes your culture. It changes your mindset. In the church world, we'd say that it changes your desires. So I really do think this is going to be a moment we look back on. And I hope that the hope and the expectation will be that Kalen DeBoer coaches differently. Nothing's given. Even if, again, in the back of your mind, you think that in some way, we can kind of cut corners. Maybe there's, because we're Alabama, we don't have to, prep for Vandy like we prep for Georgia. But I do think you feel a shift going forward. And I don't know if that's from just the coaches and the way they coach, and then it catches onto the players, or the players lead from the front. So, fellas, last words. Hampton, I'll let you go first if you got some last words.
I'm speechless at this point, but
It's all right. Hey, man, you're digesting it, and I appreciate you for it. Before you shoot it down, just chew on it for a little bit, because this is the
chewing
Pigskin
on it.
Cafe.
That's what we like to do in the cafe. The only thing I'll say that I'll give you a little credence on.
I don't even know what that word means. What? Credit?
Credit, yeah. Sorry, I thought that was pretty common. I'll give you credit on this. I do think that for a long time, that fans were complacent. Alabama won so much that there was even with a big game at Bryant-Denny, the atmosphere might not have been as good because we were blowing teams out. There was a constant, like we called it, joyless murder ball. But to me, in 2023 especially, there was a little bit of a shift because Alabama wasn't the usual Alabama. They were eking games out. And they were struggling. And the Tennessee and LSU game, that atmosphere came alive again because fans realized that there was a real possibility of losing. And the atmospheres for both of those games were incredible. And I feel like you saw the same last week against Georgia. 100%. That was a big game, and there was a desperation with the fans at that game that created people at that game said it was the best environment that they've been in, maybe ever, at least top 3. So maybe going forward, again, you lose to Vanderbilt. Now nothing is put in stone. Nothing is cemented. You've got to fight and claw for every yard, for every play, and that needs to be the mindset from the coaches to the players to the fans. And that is what I'll leave you with. Alabama plays South Carolina at 11 o'clock next Saturday. And some of the things that Alabama struggled with against Vanderbilt, South Carolina poses those issues too with a running quarterback and a good running game. What adjustments do you make? Do you rally together? Do you show some resolve? Or is it going to be same song, different verse? We shall see.
Graham, final word?
Yeah, I think just to kind of just encapsulate our last 20 minutes of
What's encapsulate mean?
To bring together, to combine, to cover. I think that at least my last thought is it would be one thing if I knew that Alabama was celebrating all last week that they forgot they had to play Saturday. But I think they were so excited after they won, and then they just skipped over Vanderbilt. And I think that was the bigger issue, was that there was no like, oh yeah, we forgot to practice because we've been celebrating. I've not seen that, and I think to me that's the bigger issue. It's one thing if we're celebrating, and because we're so high that we just forget to come back to ground level, that we eventually plummet. I think we were so high, came back to ground level, and then just it didn't feel like it mattered this week. And I think that was the issue to me. I'm definitely going to be interested to see how they respond. I think an 11 o'clock kickoff for Alabama. It's in Tuscaloosa, correct? Yeah, I think I think we're going to see an Alabama team that not only is juiced up, but I think we'll see an Alabama team that puts on a performance that very few Alabama teams have had before, and truly dominate South Carolina in a way that is going to maybe help us forget what happened last week.